gosh,
We're back.
this story. Welcome to But Wait, There's More. I am your host, Des Hickson, and my co-host, Joy Turner, is joining us today.
It's
And
good to
we
be
are
back in this new
talking,
year.
yes, right? Happy New Year. Last year, I'm sorry, you guys, we had to delay because Des got sick. I had
Yes,
shingles
New Year.
and
Oh no, I didn't
yeah,
know that.
yeah.
I know it's that bad.
And of
Please.
course, this is a visual podcast. I got it on my face. And so, yeah, that
Yeah,
wasn't happening. I looked like something out of, Alien or whatever.
Alien
I
versus
wasn't,
Predator, Alien,
yeah, it wasn't
Light Decay,
happening.
whatever they call the last one. I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I might feel like technically feel okay, but my face is giving no, what's that? The Hunchback Notre Dame, in the face. Yeah, no,
Oh,
it was pretty bad. It was bad. It was almost in my eyes to the point
well,
where I had to
that's
go see
that's
a
kind
doctor.
of relevant since we're talking about a doctor today.
Yes, and
If
I
you
should
were
add,
in,
I went to a real doctor.
but I was gonna say if you were in Florida in 2000, what 15, 16, you would
Hmm.
have possibly ended up in the clinic of Dr. Malachi Love-Robinson under
Yeah,
his medical care.
isn't that crazy? Like, and okay, okay. I actually, full disclosure, I work in the holistic community. So
Okay, okay.
I
Well,
work with a lot
interesting.
of people who consider themselves medical specialists. They don't call themselves doctor, but they practice holistic medicine. Most of it's body massage, but they deal with lymph nodes, they
Yeah.
deal with, deep tissue. Some people are nutritionists, but they focus on like vegan diets and things like that. I run across all sorts of people, but I have yet in my 5 years of working in this community run into anybody that decided that wearing the label of doctor was appropriate. And I certainly, absolutely have not run into anybody that looks like this. Let me
I had
let
to
let,
take a
let
note
let's go
there
on.
when you said
Yeah.
that because you're right, and there was so much to say. Um, I
Would
remember
you go to
first
this kid? Would you go to this kid?
he doesn't look. Maybe if I saw him in person, I would think he looked like a kid. But let me just say, in 2016, he first so Dr. Malachi Love arrested for what was his exact charge? It was practicing medicine without a license. He was arrested
Right.
in February 2016 in Florida, third-degree felony, practicing medicine without a license. And I'm just like, I mean, he does look young, but some people do look young. You'd be like, are you a real doctor? And I
That's true. That's true. My son's like 34 or whatever, but he still looks like he's 16. So I could see that. I could see that.
right. So he also what I find interesting, I will say, is that okay, so let me go back to the point I was gonna make before. You say
Right.
that a lot of people don't just pretend like they're doctors, like you're a part of the holistic community, but people just don't pretend like they're doctors. But we academic institutions do hand out honorary doctorates.
They
So I
do.
don't want to name any celebrities. But okay, let me name a couple celebrities. I feel like Bill Cosby
Like,
had a couple
start
honorary
start
doctorates.
naming names, Joy. Start naming
I'm gonna name
names.
a celebrity I don't like. Bill Cosby. I feel like he had a couple honorary doctorates. He might have
Right.
had a couple real doctors, but the point is that academic institutions do give people who are accomplished in their field honorary doctorates, although they have not gone through the stringent or rigorous
Right. But it
requirements.
literally says honorary, right?
It does say
And
honorary.
and
Okay.
technically, even though he played a doctor on TV and he tried to play doctor not on TV, it did not make him a doctor anywhere. It was honorary,
Yeah,
right?
you're right with Bill Cosby.
Exactly.
Um,
But okay, but there's also the diploma mills, right? So
yeah,
anybody with a few $1,000s who wants the moniker of doctor and a certificate to make it look right can, call up one of these paper mills and have them print out Dr. So and so. I could have a, Dr. Desiree,
I
holistic
agree with that, but I will
practitioner.
say I'm not a big fan of some of the uh gates that exist in academic institutions. Like
Oh,
the fact
agreed.
that you have to take an LSAT bar exam. I just, while there is nuance, those are the kind of things where I'm like, is that more of a gatekeeping mechanism or is it like really for qualifications?
I think it's both, right? Because I mean, it's just like for if you want to be a hairstylist, you
Right.
have
I
to
want to
go
know
through,
that you got a
yeah, that
couple
you know
100 hours
that you
of
know how to wash my
hair.
hair. That's right. That you
Apparently,
know
it's
how,
not wash, it's
maybe not to
shampoo.
braid hair,
It's shampoo.
right? It's
Shampoo hair.
shampoo.
You wash your car. I don't know. This is just what I'm hearing.
But it is a form of gatekeeping, and yes, it does, from a if you're looking from a, I can't think of the words right now, but if you're trying to figure out, people of privilege are more likely to get through that gate,
Yeah,
right?
of course, because they
But
can get the degree.
they can
But this is the
afford
thing.
the
Okay,
money.
so Malachi Love-Robinson, our doctor in question, did not have a degree. He claimed to have a degree from a private Christian university, did not have that. When he was eventually arrested by the sheriff's office in Florida, he said, which I hate he did this because like what we can see both here on screen is he is a black youth, black
Mhm.
man at this time. I think he was 18 years old. I'm just a
Right.
young black man trying to help my community. Like I don't. People will say like, "Oh my God, it's not the race card." That is the race card. You are
That
playing the
is
race
totally
card.
the race card.
Now, I don't want to harp too long on that, but that did just stand out to me. That one of the things he did. Another thing that stood out to me that came to light once he was arrested in 2016 was that he was also not only was he he was pretending to be certified as a practicing physician, like with the had graduated medical school and all these things, but he was also certified as holistic medicine, specialist by let me see, American Association of Drugless Physicians. So that kind of
Right.
holistic associations we're talking about, after he submitted evidence of these various degrees that he did not actually
That
have.
he did not actually have.
Right.
That's
So what Dr. Love's case also reminds me of is another case that's been in the news over the last 6 months. So I have two
oh,
points here.
yeah, I don't know I don't know, 6 months, but I know it's giving me current vibes
Which what? With what?
of a certain congressperson
Oh,
who
okay,
just
okay. You're talking
recently
about
got
George
elected.
Santos.
George Santos.
Okay, so I agree. Who lied his way into Congress.
Yes.
Um, But the vibes I'm getting here also is with Elizabeth Holmes, because
Yeah.
of it's related very much to the healthcare industry where and I get those vibes because remember during the Elizabeth Holmes trial, and one of the things that I think really sealed the deal for her being found guilty of various frauds is, on the one hand, she did quote unquote defraud billionaires, millionaires, these
Right.
prominent people. But at the same time, she also was diagnosing people with cancer who did not have
Mhm.
cancer. She was misdiagnosing people and saying they did not have illnesses, or they were free
Right.
and clear when they actually had illnesses. And so the same thing that Elizabeth Holmes was doing, Dr. Love did. You're
Yeah.
playing with people's like freaking health. Dr. Love did it on a more like tangible, tactical, operational level where he has this clinic, and the name of it killed me. New Birth, New Life Medical Center and Urgent Care. New Birth, New Life. It sounds so
But it's
grifty.
even and this it's totally grifty, and it's
Just
deeper
call
than
it
that, right?
freaking
Once you learn
Love
everything that
Clinic or
he
some shit. I
did.
don't know.
Love Clinic.
But no, so
Crazy.
like you're promising to take care of people just like Elizabeth Holmes did, but it's all a fraud. It's all a fraud. And so one of the things I want to highlight was Dr. Love was eventually caught in he was arrested in February 2016 after undercover cop came in, and Dr. Love, she said I think the officer, it was a female officer, she said she had an itchy throat. And Dr. Love said, "Okay, I need you to, go to a pharmacy and get this allergy medication." And he ended up being caught on like prescribing treatment without a license.
Right, and he told
Um,
her she had allergies.
right. I mean, I'm like, do I have
Like,
strep? Do I have? I mean, all these other things that could have possibly existed that he would have no way of diagnosing. The other thing that I found, just like a spiral of once you start reading about Dr. Love, you found out all these things that he was arrested in like February 2016 for practicing medicine at his own clinic, had a full staff, had people coming in. But
Here,
he was
hold on.
also,
I got pictures of that too.
oh
Hold on a
my
second. Let me
God,
see if I
that's
can
so
get that.
crazy. Put him up. He was also accused in late 2015 of practicing at a
Oh,
clinic called New Directions.
another
Um,
one.
yeah, yeah.
Where's his staff? He had a full-on
Wow.
staff,
I love the foot up. That's my favorite part.
right?
But he
Like,
was
look at me.
accused,
He's really proud.
arrested in 2016, accused in late 2015. But at this in early 2015, he was found to be wandering the halls of a hospital in a lab coat. He was just wandering the halls of the lab coat in the lab coat.
Yeah.
At the time, his mom said that Malachi A. Love-Robinson suffered from mental illness and he refused to take his medication. My question to you, Des, is do you think that's a reasonable excuse for this? Like, is that a mitigating factor? Should he get less time or be like excused because he didn't take program director? Wow. He
I
wasn't even just like a resident or intern or a specialist.
like nurse or something.
He
No, like
wasn't even a nurse.
here's the thing, right? Okay, I could see wandering the halls. Oh, poor thing, you're so confused, right?
Right. You saw Dr. Doolittle on TV and now you want to be a doctor. So you
Yeah, I
you,
can
you got a
see,
lab coat, you found one at Goodwill, and you went to the hospital and you start walking around. Sure.
right?
Okay, great.
I could see that. But setting up a whole, excuse my French, a whole ass medical clinic, a whole medical clinic.
I'm actually a little bit impressed now that you put it that way. I'll be honest. I'm not impressed by his fraud, but I'm impressed by the ability for a
Exactly.
7 or 18
Right.
year old.
The fraud, bad. Okay.
Like he must
But
have had a lease on a building,
yes, he had to
hired
have all
staff,
those things. Or people that believed in him, because at least one
maintained
instance,
payroll.
yes, he had a partner. He had a business partner.
This is
Um, I
crazy.
I didn't follow up on that, but he had a business partner who was supposedly a doctor, and that was supposed to be his what do you call it, his fallback. So you go, I'm not actually claiming I'm a doctor, but I do have
Oh,
a
but I have
doctor on
this
staff.
actual certified doctor who is it like he's the main doctor. I'm
Yeah,
an assistant under him. I'm a
exactly. But like the FBI or
shadow
whoever
him.
caught him, they weren't falling for that. They're like, dude, it says doctor on your coat.
It says president, CEO, founder. I mean,
Exactly. So
PhD,
that's the end of you.
HHPC, AMPC. I don't even know
Let's
what
see.
those things mean.
What did you send me that sheriff's picture? Let me see if I can go back to it.
Yeah. So when he got arrested, um, that's when he claimed I'm just a young, no, that's the
Not
new
that
one.
one.
That's the new one from
That's the
2023,
one from
which is
last
keep
week.
that one up because I want to talk about that one too. Go back to the one from 2023. It's odd because we were discussing talking about this case last year. Like we've talked
Yeah,
about
yeah.
many months. And so we find out early January, like January 4th, it comes
He
to
was
light
on the
that
news.
so in his previous trial, he received 48 months. He was sentenced to 48 months, but it looks like he got out after like 2 years. He got out after like 2 years. He was originally sentenced to 48 months. But then 2023, it says, I took some notes here. He was accused of stealing $10,000 from his employers.
Right.
And the official charge was grand theft and organized scheme to defraud. And he accepted a plea for 2 years, 4 months. So that is his 2023 mugshot right there. Two
He's
years,
still
four
getting
months.
off easy because remember what happened to him when he got arrested for playing doctor.
Yeah,
That sounds creepy. For pretending to be a doctor, not playing doctor. Sorry.
he was playing doctor.
he, he was playing doctor, but one of the other things that he did was he robbed one of his clients.
Yeah, I saw
She's
that.
she
And
had a
that's where
stomach
my
ache.
sympathy, I didn't have any, but it really was just, it went to negative levels at that point.
Yeah, I would have giggled along and thought, give the kid a break
It's that
if that
healthcare
was
part.
if it was just the holistic part, right? He wants to help people. That sounds
Right, he's
it
prescribing
sounds harmless.
teas and maybe a couple herbs, sure.
Yeah, it sounds harmless. And like I said, I work with people in that community, and I haven't ever heard of any, what do you call, negative side effects from people believing in herbal remedies or whatever, right? Now I believe that there's people that could probably be better benefit from seeing a real doctor, right? But if they feel like they want to spend their day drinking tea and having deep tissue massage, who am I to judge, right? But so I'm looking initially at this case, I was like, oh, leave the kid alone, give him a break, right? But when I heard that he was stealing money, that's when
Not a
lost
small
my
amounts.
sympathy. No, the woman that he was checking up on her he was making house calls to this lady,
Yeah.
and finally she was in pain and he didn't know what to do. So he did the right thing, right? He called 911. The ambulance came for this woman, and she asked him to hold on to her purse, which
Mm,
he did. Only he held
mm.
on to the money that was in the purse, and ditched. And then when the woman came out of the hospital, her bank account was empty. This kid had drained her bank account, making
That is
three separate
despicable.
transactions. Yeah, and I'm like, dude, you can't hide
It was like
behind
to the
your
amount of like
so-called
30,
MLM.
30K, right? It
Yeah,
wasn't
it
so
was a
small as
lot
like
of money,
30K.
a lot of money,
So
and
that's where the point where you would you cross over from even trying to help to being proactively detrimental. You're stealing.
yeah, you're
He
stealing money.
was stealing before because he was taking money for not providing the service that he
Well,
said he was
that
going to do.
too, right? I'm a
But this
doctor,
is
but
like 30K
here's
from the
some
patient. I heard he
Tylenol.
stole another 20K from a doctor. Maybe that was his partner. I didn't get into the specifics there. But
Right.
so he was in 2016. He was arrested for practicing medicine without a license. It come to light that he had stolen almost 50K from different people. And then when he was out on bail from those charges, he got arrested for buying a Jaguar with a stolen credit card.
Like,
And so
really?
that led to his 48 months he got, and then he only served like 2 years. And so, like, when I think about all those things, so pretending to be a doctor, stealing money, using a fake credit card to buy a Jaguar, like you weren't trying to get a Nissan Sentra, you weren't trying to get a Honda, you
Right.
were trying to get a car, Toyota, so you can drive around town. You got a Jaguar. And then
This is
this latest incident, getting arrested in 2023 for stealing from your employer, you're just a fraud. You're no different than these other frauds.
yeah.
And okay, so can we say these other frauds had mental illness, mental health issues too?
I don't think so. And we're gonna
Because
get
like
into Elizabeth Holmes
as people
later.
like people, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm more sympathetic. Let me just maybe he is mentally ill. This is a young man. I don't know though. He seems like as much a fraud as he's Elizabeth Holmes without as much access to capital.
True.
Like
And
imagine
I
him
imagine,
if he had a couple billion at his discretion.
oh yeah, he could still be playing the long game.
Imagine him if he had a couple billion at his discretion. He'd have some freaking 100,000 square foot clinic, hospital, birthing babies, freaking I don't know.
Well, he actually had clients that liked him. He had like a 4-star rating or whatever it
I mean,
was.
he looks like
So
a nice guy.
yeah,
He doesn't
he
look like
does.
a
He
bad
looks like a
dude.
nice kid. Yeah.
Of course,
Very nice.
frauds are nice. They got to be nice. They got to be charming. They got to be charismatic.
Bingo.
They got
I
to
mean, literally.
be able to talk you out of your whatever.
Yep, they got to be able to sell it so that you'll buy it. And if they look mean,
Oh,
or if they have the dark eyes that people always say, like bad guys have, then they're not going to sell anything to you that you'll continue to come back as a customer. So you got to be sweet. You got to be polite. You got to be yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, and you got to be like, sure, I'll help you. I'll do whatever. And then when the people aren't looking, that's when you're running the scam, not when they're watching you directly.
right.
And
I
that's why
mean,
you got to be
that's
careful.
true. You might be right that the actual providing medical care wasn't even the main scam. It was access to records and people's private information. I mean, that's where the money is.
Right?
a office visit is $50, $200. But if I got your personally identifiable information to access your bank accounts, ching,
Yeah.
1,000, 5,000, 10,000 here.
Well, a lot of doctors want to ask you to leave your credit card on
Mm-hmm.
file
Right.
so that whenever you call in for a prescription or you
They just
forget to
run
pay
your
on your
card
way
on
out,
file.
that's right. They just swipe it and gee, I don't know how that charge got off of there. Or, and some people, especially if they're rich enough, they might not notice that
I
if they're
never
not
look. I mean, you could,
for
you know
30
what? I
bucks, you
mean,
might go, you know what?
hypothetically, you might be able to get a couple hundred without me noticing. Hypothetically,
Hmm.
because like you're not looking that closely, especially if a bill doesn't come in the mail.
Right. It's an auto
Especially if
ship or
something
whatever. Oh
yeah.
yeah. I got a bill the other day. I was like freaking out a little bit because I'm like, okay, this swiped off of my card and it says that there's money on the Nintendo account. And I'm like, that don't seem right. So then I had to go digging, and then I realized it was just my annual subscription to the family bundle so that the
Right.
kids can get on the Nintendo and buy games and stuff like that. And I was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." But at the time I'm like, initially I didn't even realize the money was gone until I got the email that said we swiped $36 and
Right,
change off
right,
your
right, right,
account.
right,
I
right.
was
And
like,
you only knew that because you got something to say and like
"Yeah,
alerting you to that.
I would not have
You
missed
never
it
did.
if they hadn't sent anything."
I mean, you can almost do that monthly with some folks. I bet. Look, $36 a month, 36 times 100. That's
That's a lot.
that's a
Thankfully,
good.
this is just an annual thing, but so I
That's a,
that's the main reason I didn't notice it. At some point, I probably would have started saying, "Why am I missing $36 every month?" But this is an annual thing, and so I even less noticed it even less because I set it so that it would auto pay, so I wouldn't have to think about it. But think that here's this con artist who is claiming to give you medical care, but they're actually just draining your bank account for nothing more than holistic medicine that you may or may not have agreed to. He's just decided he wants your money and he's going to take it. And if he can trick you into submitting by handing you your purse or whatever, or handing him your credit card, and he knows that you're good for it. I mean, that's how some of these other organizations get your money. Uh, what is it? They do like the penny scheme. So
yeah, just a little bit.
they test your debit cards. They test debit
Mm-hmm.
cards, all that they find on the dark web or whatever, and they're just
Mm-hmm.
stealing a penny at a time. And before you
Dollar
realize it,
fifty.
yeah. And all of a sudden you're like, why is my bank account drained? Oh, somebody pinged and found out that that number was good. And now you don't have any money. And so, yeah, Dylan, this kid, I mean, he actually could have
He's
made
not a
bank.
kid anymore. That's the thing
Well,
about him. Even definitely the photo on the right. I'm like, he's giving me what's the doc Doogie Howser? He's giving me Doogie Howser.
yes, Doogie Howser,
Or what's
yeah.
that new doctor, the one who's
Oh, the
like,
good doctor,
yeah,
the
good
good
doctor,
doctor,
similar.
Sean
But
or whatever
on
his
the
name is.
left, I'm like, he still looks young. He still looks
Yes,
young.
he
He
does
still
have a
looks young.
baby face.
And so
But
it's really easy to call him a kid, but he's 25 now and he's been scheming for a good 10 years.
yeah. Wow, yeah, I just realized that. He's been scheming his whole teenage and adult life. No, what I was saying though, there is money to be made in the holistic community without actually scamming people because people believe it, period. Even if you don't, there are people that believe it. So he could have still made bank just by offering holistic cures and
Mhm.
remedies. But instead, he decided he wanted to go for robbery too. And that's where he went wrong. That's where he went wrong. I mean, look, there are people out here we argue about on Clubhouse and on Twitter about these fake doctors all the time, or people who
I
maybe
mean,
they don't
a lot of
use
people
the
think
word
Dr. Sebi's
pastor.
fake. Dr. Sebi.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. He had some good ideas, right? Dr. Sebi had some good ideas, but some of his so-called cures were fake. So yes, he advocated for a vegan type diet. He advocated for, exercise and things like that. But the cures that he created, like drinking your own urine, nah. That a woman's period should be green, nah.
Ay,
So, and a lot of and some people that we might have heard of that are famous have been hurt by some of Dr. Sebi's cures. So, I'm just like, yeah. but without using the moniker doctor, simply by
Yeah.
advocating for certain types of teas, certain types of diets, just holding somebody's hand through a pregnancy, being like a doula type character, he could have
Yeah.
made
Of
he could have
course.
made big money just being a guy that wanted to help people who didn't want to deal with actual what they call allopathic medicine. He
Yeah.
could have been that guy, but he wasted an opportunity. He could have scammed legitimately, okay, without hurting anyone,
I
and he
guess
could have
where
got away with it.
could have got away with it. I guess where I land at is thinking that I agree with you. But I what I would like to see, or what I'd be interested in learning, like I think about if I were to ever think about Dr. Love again, what I would want to know is more about his what is going on in his head. Um
Right. And
like
legitimately, I'd like to
no,
interview
yeah, I
him
would
in
if
10
we did
more
an
years.
interview, give me an ABC Dateline.
In
I
10
hope it's
years,
not
not
live, but I
now.
would want to know. I would want to know. Like, why did
Yeah.
you choose healthcare? Did you actually think you were healing people? Are you a fraud? Are you a con man? What was your childhood like? All these like I want to know. Not that it's excuse, but like, what was your childhood like? What was your
Well,
mom
I
and your
mean,
dad like? What were your siblings
I
like? Like,
I find that interesting, but it's, almost I don't find it nearly as fascinating as I would if he were like on the dark side of crime. But
mm,
I do the question to me is, was your mother in on this? you know, was your family in on this? At least on the because come on, right? Especially if
I
he was making
mean,
good money. um,
I could see it either way. Like, maybe his mom just like was like she didn't know. It was like, yeah, mom, I went to this for 6 months and I got my degree and now I can be a doctor. Like, if your family has never done any type of college or higher
right.
learning,
That's true.
I could
But
see how you might
that's
believe
the
it.
part I'm curious about. How did he
Yeah, that's what I
who
said.
did
Going forward,
who did he fool? And how did he do it? How
maybe like,
if he fooled them?
did he do this growing up? Like when he was 6, was he like? I'm serious, like 7,
Well,
10. Of course, like
look at
you had to practice. This is a big heist to take off to get. It's you got to practice this. You don't pull this off
Mhm.
straight off the off rip.
Right. He had to have a plan. The other question was, or it reminded me of, remember we did the last one we did, and it didn't come out great, but we talked about Ephraim Taylor. And he
Yeah.
was a kid that started out with a good plan and then went completely off the
Oh
rails
yeah.
when he was an adult, wasting people's money, throwing it away on the good life while they lost their life savings. Luckily, that didn't really happen here, save for a couple of instances, but he wasn't scamming. His wasn't a pyramid scheme. Ephraim Taylor's was a pyramid scheme. This guy was just going to Malachi was just going to individuals and ripping off their pockets, basically. Um,
But you remember
but
Effort Taylor too? He was thought of as a boy genius. Like he's got all these
yes,
crazy ideas, and he just turned a fraud. And he tried to take
yeah.
a shortcut. I can see similarities. Like Ephraim Taylor
Yes, ding. Yeah,
wanted to take
exactly.
shortcuts. I
I
mean,
think that's what that probably happened here too. This kid had a good
most folks
idea.
know that if you want to be a doctor, you have to go to college.
Yes.
That's pretty basic
For a
information.
minimum of 8 years. A minimum of eight
Even if you
years.
don't know the years, you know that you cannot be a
It's gonna
doctor
be
at
a long
18.
time. That's right. Gonna be a very long
What else,
time.
Des?
But I don't
I
know.
don't want to hear from Dr. Love again.
I don't either. I know, like, the question was asked in the beginning, even though we didn't phrase it, was he a community healer or a menace to society? And I really
He's a
think that
freaking
he had the opportunity to be a community healer, but he turned into a menace to society. And I think I agree with you on the patience part. If he had been more patient, he probably would have built out a really good number of clients and he would have been making that money. But because he was in a hurry to get the money, that's probably what led to the the stealing. And that's unfortunate because it's I have a soft spot because even when I look at Elizabeth Holmes' story, it bothers
I got a
me
soft
that
spot for Elizabeth Holmes for sure.
she had a good idea. She had the ingenuity, but she got involved. I think she got involved with the wrong human.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll
Try to take
discuss this in a
shortcuts.
future. Yeah, we'll discuss Elizabeth Holmes in a future episode coming up very soon. But
That
I
was gonna
think
be a 2-hour episode because
oh, it is. It'll
a lot
probably
of
be broken
mess.
down into parts. But I think when she got connected with Mr. Balwani, that's where it all went wrong. I really think that's where she jumped the shark or whatever they call it,
Mm,
because if she would have learned early on that her project was not going to work, and if she had heard it clearly, she might have tried something else that was going to work better. And I think
baby steps.
because she yeah, because she kept following through with it because it was making them money in that moment, that's where I don't give her any grace. But I still have hope for, or at least distantly, I have hope for the girl she was, because I think it's amazing when people can come up with these ideas
Yeah,
to
that's what I
improve
say.
themselves or improve their community. Dr. Love may not practice the kind of medicine that I love, but like I said, I work in a community for people who think that essential oils, certain types of tea, certain types of soap, etc., work better than commercial or whatever.
Mhm.
And I respect that because those are people, they care about their health, but they care about their health in a different way than I do. So I don't give them any shade. They look healthy to me. They look like they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They look fine. But this guy on in any other planet or any other state or era, he would have been perfectly fine. But his greed got the better of him, just like it did with Elizabeth Holmes and Ephraim Taylor. And that's a shame. That's a
I
shame because I
mean,
think there's room for all of us to grow if we're all patient and work together. And these people were building community. That's the shadiest part, right? They were building community that was giving to them, like throwing money at them literally, and they still basically had to steal to stay ahead. And that's what's wrong, kids. That's the moral of the story. Don't steal to get ahead.
don't cheat. I will say I
Don't
would be
cheat.
remiss if I didn't mention that we have to, like what we would talk about, both holistic medicine and what we would call Western medicine, is that there
Hmm.
are some gates that are put in place, like that you have to go to medical school, that you have
Absolutely.
to have a residency, that you have to get board certified, that you have to have a license. All these things are
They're
gateways that may not
barriers.
exist
Right.
in other countries across the world. So I will say that. But I still land at is 17, 8-year old, 18-year old. Did you have any experience whatsoever? I'm not talking about license. I'm not talking about 4 years medical school. But did you at your core even know the difference between Lipton tea and tea that is supposed to like
Right.
I wouldn't. You
Right.
show me Lipton tea. You show me some tea that is supposed to
Right.
um
So do you,
decrease your heart rate and put you to sleep or like I would have no idea. I have no idea what I'm talking about. No idea.
right. Well, if you hang out in Whole Foods, you'd learn like fennel tea is great for
Right. Like
breastfeeding.
what? Fennel tea. I didn't even know that's a thing. Exactly.
Or not fennel. Fennel is good for something, I don't know what, but like
Anything. Any tea.
licorice tea is good for breastfeeding. It supposedly helps increase the glands
Anything
and all
licorice.
that
No, just
stuff.
give my Lipton, my cold brew Lipton.
There you go. I now see I love all kinds of tea, including licorice tea,
Mm,
but
mm, wow.
but yeah, it's fascinating what people decide, and I've said this many times. It's fascinating what people decide to use to scam people when they're on the right path to actually making money and doing the right thing.
Just do the right
Um,
thing. Is that the name of a movie? A
yeah,
nice.
it is.
I was gonna say
Check
Ice
this
T
out. I
movie. What I meant was Spike Lee. I don't know why I said Ice T.
Right. Oh, I got you. Check this out. I found this in my search for photos,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to save it for last because we were also talking about George Santos. But people were joking about how Malachi
I'm scared
would
what this is gonna
defend
be.
himself. How he would defend himself in court, and
Oh
this is
no.
probably what happened. Although we weren't there, we can't verify that this is true. It's likely that he was his own lawyer.
Oh. He's also the
I could.
attorney.
I had to. Yes.
Yes.
I had to put that up there. It made me laugh.
I
But
wouldn't be surprised. More power to him.
but
He's
right,
got a
that one cracked
confidence
me up
most
so
people
much.
wish they had. Okay, let
He
me get off
does.
because I'm
He
starting to
did.
cough. I'm coughing all over the live now.
Right. So, do you have any last words about this guy?
No, it's just I don't want to hear from him again. I said it, and the only thing I want to hear is maybe I would read a long New Yorker article from him about his childhood and like why he's turned over a new leaf that is not fraudulent. That's
So,
what I
if he
would.
writes a book or something, you'd read it.
No, I wouldn't read the book. I would do like a New York Times article. I'm not paying for it. I'm gonna
There
do
you
like
go.
the
Okay.
incognito
Short
tab,
form.
and I'm gonna read it. Or like
Right there, you
maybe
go.
he had a
Don't want
YouTube
nobody to
channel.
know.
I might check out a couple videos.
Okay, there you go. All right. Well, that is the end of this video. And Joy and I would both like to thank you for joining us. Joy, where can you be found?
Geek Neek JT, Twitter and Clubhouse, GeekNikJT. That's where I mostly hang out
All
on Twitter.
right.
What about you,
And
Des?
you can find me, well, you can find me on Twitter at DizzyDesi2010, or you can find me as the Laundry Diva or Des Hickson. Excuse me, I get so confused. You can find me the Laundry Diva anywhere, but you can always also find me as Des Hickson on Clubhouse. I'm all over the place, but we'll have all that information in the description box down below. Don't forget to do all the YouTube things on your way out, especially if you've been here this long. Please like this video, share it if you want, subscribe. We will be back sooner rather than later. We are going to be talking about Elizabeth Holmes, and I've got a couple of other things in the
Woo!
laundry chute, we'll call it,
Laundry.
because I am working on a side project, but I'm trying to find somebody to help me with it. So it's I'm trying to do a story time, but I can't figure out how to do it by myself. So I'm gonna probably invite some people to
That would
help
be
me.
fun.
Yeah, because I have to admit I was once a middle school hoodlum. That's
Mm,
all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
I was a
You
tattletale, so it'd be interesting to get them.
you guys have to clock into the comments and tell us if if you like this video, tell us what you think about Dr. Love, or if you want us to talk about some other future scammers, we are all here for it. So just go ahead and drop your stories in the comments, and we'll get back to you ASAP. Once again, I want to thank Joy Turner for joining me here on But Wait, There's More. And don't forget to come back, because there'll be more where this
There's
came
always more.
from.
There's always
All
scammers.
right. All right. And on that note, we'll say adios. Don't fall for any scams, people. Stay out of trouble. All right. Bye.
See it.